Okay, so we are officially getting started. My name is Mackenzie Zajan. I'm the owner and founder of Inner Nutritionist. It's a home for women who want to feed their wisest selves. And I'm so excited that you're joining me today for this online gathering where I'll be walking you through this very first step when it comes to making more peace with food and peace with our bodies. I mean, honestly, there's about 29 steps I want to walk you through, but today I'm just going to really take you through a deep dive on this, what I think is this very first step, this first vital step. Now, wherever you are, maybe you're a woman who feels absorbed by food and your body every single day. Maybe you're a woman who sees these unhealthful or uncomfortable patterns pop up in times of stress or life transitions or certain life events. You know, whoever you are, wherever you are, this first step is for you. I think this first step is refreshing. I don't think it's one that you usually turn towards. So what I'd love for you to do is to have a piece of paper handy, a journal, a notebook, and so you can take notes. And let's see, I just want to make sure everyone is muted here. Okay, good. Now, for those of you who don't know, the reason why I do this work is because I myself was miserable around food and my body for practically two decades. I was a restrictive eater. I was a binge eater. I was a compulsive eater. I was a mindless eater. I was an orthorexic. You know, for those of you who don't know what that is, I was obsessed with pure foods, organic foods. You know, so I spent most of my life's precious moments, my adult life precious moments, worried about food and my body and my meal plans. And then I'd say the heck with it. And I would care less and feel completely overwhelmed. I'd swing back and forth. And I don't want you to go another day in these cycles. And I really don't want any woman to go another day in these cycles. I want so much more for you. I want so much more for our world. I mean, could you imagine what it would be like if women weren't so emotionally, mentally, spiritually drained by all this? I think it would be a really different and positive world. So what I have planned for us today is we're going to center ourselves for just about 1 minute. I want you to really arrive here. And then I'm going to have us open with a reflection question and a reflection exercise. And then we're going to be diving into this first step where I'll be teaching you the ins and outs of this first step. And then we're going to do an exercise so you can apply this first step to your unique path with food and your body. I'll be leading us through this workshop material for about 20 minutes, and then I'll leave time at the end, 10 or 15 minutes or so, for you to ask questions or clarify this first step for you. You're welcome to ask questions based on today's topic, or maybe another topic that you'd like to receive support or coaching around today. So let's go ahead and center ourselves. Please take this time to turn off your phone or set it aside. Let go of any distractions that are here and really arrive here now. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a deep breath, inhaling fully and exhaling out your mouth. Let's do 2 more like that, closing your eyes if you feel comfortable. Exhaling out your mouth. Let this breath come in. Let this moment be here. Good. And now open your eyes if they aren't already and just take a look around the room. Even if you've been here in this spot 1,000 times or the first time, just take a look at where you are. I want you to feel your hands and feel your arms and just know you're here. You're in this body and you're here in this moment. Good. It's so easy to say that we're here, but really we're off somewhere else. So I want to always take a moment to just center ourselves and arrive. Okay. So we're going to dive right in. If you haven't been to an online gathering with me, I just cut right through all the fog and we dive right in. So put on your scuba diving gear. Here we go. We're going in. So I want you to grab your notebook, your journal, and your pen. And I want you to consider this question. How do you connect with yourself every single day? How do you connect with yourself every single day? Give this some thought. What comes up for you? It's okay if you don't know. It's okay if you're not sure. But what do you do every single day to connect with yourself? Okay. So this goes beyond, taking a shower, putting your shoes on, getting to work. I want to know, just from a deeper level, how do you connect with you every single day? Now, I would love if anyone wants to just share in the chat box what's coming up for them. I know we're just kind of getting started here, so if anyone wants to just share, you can always, you want to scroll down to the video and just push that chat option, and then it opens up the chat box. And you can just share in there. How do you connect with yourself every day? Maybe it's, I don't know. Or maybe it's this, but I'm not quite sure if that's how I connect with myself. Is that how I connect with myself? I'm not sure. Or maybe I do this, but I'm not sure if that really feeds me. So what do you do every day to try to connect with yourself? So whatever responses are coming up, I really welcome in the chat box, okay? Now, the idea is that some of you might not really know the answer to this question. Others of you will have an idea, but it might not feel complete, or you're not quite sure. And I want to share with you why I asked us to even open up with this question. The reason is because I see really, really wonderful, capable, smart, beautiful, brilliant women struggle with food in their body. And I ask them this question, and there's a pause. It's the pause I had too when I was in the middle of all of this. There's an uncertainty. I can see wheels turning, but there's a searching for answers. We're not quite sure how we connect with ourselves every day. What's true is, as women, we have a tendency to have a lot of ideas on how we take care of others. We're so good at taking care of others. We're so good at running around, being everything to everyone. But when it comes to ourselves, well, it gets complicated, okay? I hear some people saying, I don't really know. I think this might be part of my issues. Somebody says showers, maybe. I really use the time to think and focus on taking time for me. Absolutely, right? I connect with myself through journaling, but I don't do it absolutely every day. Yeah, so there, we have some ideas, right? And they're not necessarily every day, or we're not quite sure, okay? So this is what happens. We don't really have a total grasp on how we connect with ourselves every day. You don't have a grasp on how you connect with yourself every day. But something you do know about is how to worry about your body, is how to worry about your weight. You do know how to fight food. You do know how to say, eat that, don't eat that. You know how to set up food rules and then maybe break those rules down with force. You know how to overthink how you under-exercise or how you over-exercise and all the mental struggle that comes with movement. You know the ins and outs of that world. All too often, these patterns occupy a lot of the company that you keep with yourself. So we're going to dive into it right here, right now, ladies. This is your very first step, is to see that all of the struggle with your food and your body is how you are connecting with yourself every day. Or like I said, in times of stress, times of overwhelm, it's how you connect with yourself. In another phrase, it's how you're taking care of yourself. Okay? And again, I'm not talking about how you shower or pay your bills or get yourself to work. I'm talking about how you relate to yourself every day, in and out, how you talk to yourself, how you self-manage yourself or not self-manage yourself. It's your main medium or modality to how you are with yourself when you're alone. It's what you do when you want to better yourself. It's what you do when you want to punish yourself. It's your primary way of how you do you. Okay, so let me say it one more time. Okay, your first step is to see that your fighting food and your body is how you are taking care of yourself. All right, now I know some of you you're hearing me say this and you've done some work around this and you're realizing that your eating difficulties and your body struggles are a coping mechanism, okay? And I hope this next exercise is gonna help you take this deeper. Now, others of you might be feeling like this is very counterintuitive. It might feel like, wait a minute, shouldn't I be taking care of myself better? And I certainly respect that question. And the very best way to take care of yourself better is to really, really radically absorb this first step. It is a game changer. It's a game changer, okay? So let's take this step further, okay? I want you to write down on your paper 1 or 2 problems you have with food or your body, okay? Just 1 or 2. So just a phrase or 1 sentence. Keep it really short. Okay, so just, maybe it's my binge eating. Maybe it's my nighttime eating. Maybe it's my over-exercising. Maybe it's my thighs. Maybe it's my weight. Okay, 1 or 2 problems maximum, the ones that really feel like your main problem with food in your body. I want you to have that written down on your paper. Okay, and again, this might feel really consistent in your life every day. For others of you, this just comes up during times of stress or life transition, maybe right now because it's a particularly stressful time in your life. Okay, so pick 1 or 2. Now, I want you to write down next to that thing, the thing that you typically do to try and make this problem better. What do you typically do to try to make it go away? To try to fix it? In other words, what's your first step that you typically go to? I would love to hear what you're coming up with in the chat box. You don't have to share your problem, you're welcome to, but definitely just share this first step. What's one of the first things you typically go to try to make this problem go away or to try to fix it? What's typically your first step? And again, how you get into the chat box is you just scroll down to the bottom of this video, you push that chat option, and it opens up the chat box. So what do you typically do? Do you make a plan and promise yourself you're going to start it tomorrow? Do you get really rigid? Does it spin you into a spiral of overeating? What's your first step that you typically do? Okay, so while folks are thinking about that and writing that in the chat box, and again, actually this isn't again the first time. I share this a lot on online gatherings, that when we share, we actually see in adult learning, when we actually share something, it is much more likely to transform. So it can be really scary sometimes to share things or things that feel really personal to us. But I guarantee what your first step is exactly what others are feeling too, or what they go to too, or it helps them clarify what's going on for them. So sharing is really caring. So just share, what's that typical first step for you? And again, it's such a great way to transform your own work, because when we share, like I said, we're much more likely to transform the thing we're sharing just by the act of sharing. Okay. All right. So it looks like we have I try to use logic to tell myself how ridiculous my obsession is. Food is a way to connect with others. Food is sharing. Food is caring. Okay. I used to beat myself up, but now my first step is to be empathetic with myself and tell myself you're okay. Yeah. Okay, great. One issue is eating past satisfied. I don't know what I do to make it better, but I find I just feel bad about eating past full and stew about it. Yeah, okay, so these first steps are stewing about it, feeling bad about it, trying to use logic to see how ridiculous my obsession is, to one person said to beat themselves up, but now they try to make the first step more empathetic and say they're okay. Sometimes I'm kind to myself and try to be compassionate and center myself. I put myself, that's the times I do what I think I need to practice. Oh, you think you need to practice that more, but sometimes I put myself further down and generate more pressure on myself. Right. So these are the types of things. We beat ourselves up, we stew over it, we use logic, we try to fix it. Now, I really want to share just how human this is, right? Some of you are learning to be more compassionate and kinder with yourself, which is such a nice practice. Kindness is always the way out. You'll hear me say that again and again and again. But to just put that aside for just a moment, it is so human to want to try to fix our problems. Our entire DNA is set up to seek pleasure and avoid pain. So the very first thing we want to do is we do want to fix this. We do want to get rid of it. Okay? But this first step that I am suggesting today is taking a bit of a higher road. And it is rooting in something other than trying to control or fix your next move. But rather, it's an acknowledgement of why this problem was even here in the first place. Why those problems that you just wrote on your piece of paper just now is even here in the first place. Okay? It is fundamentally here because it is how you take care of yourself. It is here because it is actually trying to help. It's trying to give you something that you're really after. Okay, and I'm going to say more on this in just a minute, but I want to see if you can explore this for yourself and give this some time with your unique problem. Okay, so how I want you to do this is I want you to go back to that one problem or those two problems you wrote down and ask yourself, what is this problem providing for me? What is this problem providing for me? I'm going to give you a few ideas in just a moment, but I want you to just think about this for yourself. Going back to that problem you wrote down, what is it providing for you? If anybody wants to just give it a shot in the chat box, I'd love to hear. There is no right answer. There is no wrong answer. There's no better answer. But if you're just give this a shot in the dark, what is this problem you see on this piece of paper? What is it providing for you? If it was providing you anything, what would it maybe be? It's okay if you're stuck here. Okay, just give it a shot. Yeah, I hear someone say it takes away anxiety. Yep. I have thought that being heavy is like insulating and that food is filling a void. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yep, it's filling a void of some kind. It's taking away anxiety. Yeah. So it's doing something, right? This is the step right here. This is the acknowledgement of why it's even here. Again, our DNA is to want to fix it, to change it. And that's using that primitive brain, that reactive brain, and that takes us back into cycles. It's like always taking a right turn. We're always taking a right turn. Always taking a right turn. This is kind of like this is taking a left turn. Okay, and using that higher road, actually this part of the brain, to think about this. Why is this even here in the first place? What is this providing me? Someone says, one of my problems is that I'm always focused on my weight and never happy with it at any moment. That provides me with a goal and a focus. Exactly. It provides me with a goal and a focus. What a relief, right? To have a goal and a focus and trajectory in life. Yeah. Binging provides me with an outlet and a distraction and comfort. Anything that I need in that moment. Exactly. Binging provides me with an outlet and a distraction and a comfort. I mean, who doesn't want those things? Who doesn't want to feel comfortable? You know, who doesn't want to have a goal? Who doesn't want to relieve anxiety? Who doesn't want to try to fill some sort of void they feel? We all do. This is so human. It's so natural, right? Another comment here is I think this problem is providing a sense of security. Yep, security around food. I would just go as far as to say is a sense of security. Again, who doesn't want that? Okay. Years of restriction still triggers a response to want to assure the food isn't restricting any longer, right? Yeah, so that's security. I hear another comment, it gives me a sense of control. Yep, my appearance defines who I am, at least that's what my mind says, right? So it gives me a sense of control. Exactly. See what we're really after? What we're really after is a sense of control, a sense of purpose, goals, a relief from anxiety. That's what we're all after, okay? So I have a few other ideas here for anyone else who is struggling. I want to just share a few ideas that I was thinking about yesterday as I was thinking about this gathering. Every time you go to restrict or diet, it is technically an act of self-care. It is your way of finding control when life feels seamlessly out of control. It's a way to find tangibility in a very untangible world. Every time you go to restrict your food, or every time you go to diet, is a way to find purpose. It's your way of knowing what you're working on. It gives you structure, it gives you meaning, it gives you a sense of trajectory. Every time you emotionally overeat or binge is an act of self-care. It's your way of finding peace and a break from all the internal noise, the external noise, from a stressful day. It's your way of just having a moment to yourself where no one else can bother you. Every time you go to fix your body or start another weight loss plan is an act of self-care. It's a way of saying, I want to feel better about myself. I want to take care of myself. I want more for myself. Every time you obsess about your arms, your thighs, your waist is an act of self-care. It's your way of creating a distraction, a buffer for some really hard, overwhelming things that might be going on in your life, which for some of us is just day-to-day life. For sensitive souls, just being alive in this world is plenty. How about the fantasy? I was really thinking about this yesterday, that fantasy that I lived in for so long of being thin and this feeling of being in this sundress and I'm on the beach and I just feel light and I feel free, right? That utopia and fantasy provides an escape and a hopefulness. So essentially, every time you make a plan, every time you break a plan, there is a woman within who is doing the very best that she can with the resources she has to try to make herself feel better, to relieve herself of the anxieties of her day-to-day world. So I would love to just pause. How is this landing for you? What's going on for you as I'm sharing all this? I want to just really pause around this first step, acknowledging why it's even here in the first place. What are you taking away? Can you just share in the chat box with me where you're at? How is this all landing for you? There's no right or wrong thing that you can be taking away. Absolutely not. This is a really safe environment here. Okay. Yeah, people are just saying it makes sense. This makes sense. Okay, so you're connecting with this. Yeah. Okay. So, is anyone needing any support on how they are applying this problem that they wrote, or these two problems that they wrote on their piece of paper, and how they're applying the first step to what you wrote down? Okay. So while you're kind of thinking about your questions or thinking about how to continue to apply this, I want to just repeat again the first step. I want to just summarize the first step for you, and then we're going to get into questions and support. Okay. So again, the first step to see in all of this, while it feels like the problems you have with food in your body are a nemesis or your enemy, the first step is actually to see that it's here to try to help you. It's actually your form of taking care of yourself. I often think of our preoccupation with food in our body as being this thing, like I'm very visual, so I see it as like having this cape on, and it swoops into our life and it says, I'm here. I hear you've called. I see that you're in a lot of pain. You're frightened. You're overwhelmed. I'm here to help. I know what. I have a great idea. All of those things that you're worried about or feeling anxious about or you're uncertain about or your really tough day, let's not think about those things. They're kind of really big. There's a lot of ouchies there. Let's not do that. And let's just think about me, right? You know how to do that. You know how to worry about your body. You know how to overthink your food. You know how to obsess. You know how to do that. Why don't you do that? We know how to do that. So it's here to try to help, to give you some ideas on where to go in the middle of all of the anxiety and stress. Okay, so, finally, some of my final words here is, I know that fighting food in your body is not the most optimal form of self-care, of course. Like, we know that, right? If it was optimal, you wouldn't be here at this gathering. Right? The truth is that this process leaves us feeling drained. It leaves us feeling starved because it's not optimal. It's an attempt at feeling the things we're after, like that relief of anxiety, so having more peace. It's an attempt at feeling more purpose or trajectory, like we have a goal, we have structure. It's an attempt at feeling like we have somewhere we're going, something to focus on. It's a placeholder. Okay? So again, this first step is not trying to get there and fix it all. It's to see that it's here for a reason. It's not a coincidence that it's here, but it's trying to provide you something and trying to help. And once you really get that it's not the enemy, that it's not something to just keep fixing and taking that right turn, instead taking this left turn and seeing it's a placeholder. When we get that, we've officially taken our first step. Okay, and this is moment to moment. It's not like, oh, okay, I finally have gotten this first step. It's just maybe in a moment we get it. And then we forget about it. And then we come back to it. So this is something we come back to again and again and again for the 100th time, for the 1000th time, right? Oh yeah, why is this here? This is here, I'm obsessing again. Why could that be? Oh, right, I'm trying to find peace right now because of this really hard week. We've just come off a really hard election week. Some of you might be really triggered right now because there's a lot going on. So why is it here? That's that first step, okay? Okay, good. So that is the summary. And I'd love to just hear your questions. I see that there's some things going on in the chat box here. So this is a really good time to ask questions on this first step or around a different topic that you might be bringing today. I really welcome that. This is a way to receive some live coaching. Again, you can scroll down to the video and push chat. At the bottom of the video, there's a chat button, and that opens up the chat box, and you can ask your questions there. If you're on the phone, you can push *9. Oops, I see a hand is up. Sorry, I don't know how long that hand has been up. I apologize about that. But *9 is a great way to raise your hand. All right. I'm actually going to go to the hand that is raised. Let's see. Your phone number is 206-261-2087.
Yep,
Go ahead.
it's Sonia.
Sonia, hi.
Hello.
Hi.
So my situation. I hope you can hear me. I'm in the car driving through the mountains in Oregon.
I can tell, but I can hear you.
Okay. So my father passed away suddenly last Saturday, and so as I was driving out to Idaho to get to my mom, all I wanted was chocolate. All I wanted was chocolate, and it was all I could think about on 9 hours on the highway. And when I got to my mom's house, she wanted me to make a chocolate cake. And then the next day, she wanted me to make these cookies. And then the next day, she wanted brownies. And I thought it was really interesting, the family dynamic about how in times of stress and pain, both my mother and I just wanted chocolate anything.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely. So it sounds like, and for those of you who are listening, Sonia and I used to work together, and she sent me an email saying she might be able to make it because of what's happened this week. And so my heart goes out to you, Sonia, this week in the loss of your father. I'm so glad you could make it to today's gathering. It's pretty amazing that you did. So it sounds like you're really seeing more like these family patterns that play out, and that the answer is to turn to chocolate or to turn to food.
Exactly. And for me, it was really being mindful, because it was all there and people were bringing stuff and so it was, allowing myself to have that comfort without binging on it and without just trying to block out all the pain and everything that was going on with chocolate. But I just really was surprised at how wide my eyes were open with all the work that we've done, and seeing that dynamic in my mom that's been in me for all these years.
Mm-hmm.
And I just thought it was fascinating and wanted to share it with you.
I'm so glad you did. It's almost like I get a sense that you saw a new reality, like the veil really kind of peeled back and you could see just how pervasive this pattern is in your family and how you have been taught this and modeled this.
Yes.
Yeah. So and so it sounds like you were, I love that you said that you tried to stay mindful. I love how you're just observing this and watching this. Is there anything else you want to say just about what else you were observing?
Well, because it was a really hard week. I mean, it was a really hard week. And there were a lot of painful things that were going on, and allowing myself in a time when, say 6 months ago, I would have said, no, you can't have that. Chocolate is bad. Sugar is bad. And just allowing myself to sit with that brownie or with that piece of cake and to just experience every bite of it instead of stuffing the emotion with it. And that was a completely different experience than just even, like I said, like 6 months ago. It would have been a completely different process, I think. And so it was a really eye-opening experience for me. And I got that comfort that I was looking for from the sweet, but not to the point of making myself, sick with it.
Yeah. Wow. You were so awake through it. It sounds like you're really awake through it, and where we might just go into some old behaviors and patterns of just, landing face first into a plate of brownies as a way to find some relief. It's like there was a wiser part of you knew that was only going to take you so far.
Exactly. And I just kept saying, look at me, I'm thriving.
Awesome. I'm so
thank you.
This with us.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mackenzie. I had you on my shoulder the whole week.
Oh, Sonia, I'm so glad you could make it today. Great to hear from you.
Thanks.
Thank you. Good. So I just want to share something here that Sonia's bringing up, which is an acknowledgement. That's an example of emotional overeating. So any emotional overeaters or bingers out there who maybe are relating to what Sonia just said, that it does take work to get to a place where we're realizing that a whole plate full of brownies or 3 brownies or 5 brownies only just leaves us feeling sick, and now we still have our problems. So now we don't just have our problems, our life problems, but now we're sick and we have our life problems. So it's amazing to hear what Sonia, how far she's come. And there's a period here where there can be a sadness that food isn't the answer. I just want to acknowledge that if anyone is here in this realm and you're feeling like there's just a period of grief when we realize that binging or overeating isn't the answer. It's been our answer for so long. And then we realize it's actually limiting and it doesn't actually get us what we want. It's an attempt to get what we want, but it's not. And so I just want to acknowledge that there's going to be some grief there. And that's a huge part of this process. Okay, good. So we have some things in the chat box that I want to turn to. Let's see. Let me go to the top where we were. Okay, so it looks like starting at top. I'm having a really hard time taking that what I know and making it practical. How do I change my self-care? Yep. So this is when our head knows that there's maybe better ways to take care of ourselves, but it's not integrated into our life. Really normal place to be, especially if we're smart women, right? We're intelligent women. We know we can be doing better. And this is an integration. So the first step is to know that there are other possibilities towards self-care, and that then the second step is to start integrating it into our life. That step takes much longer time. So go easy, go slow. And I would say the biggest thing that I run into with women is that we just want it all at once, right? We just want to be like this, 100% perfectly cared out woman, right? It just doesn't work that way. How it does work, how real sustainable change works is day to day. We just say right now, just today, this afternoon even, what would be a way that I could take care of myself? Just today. So these smaller steps are the way out. It's not this big, grand, I just want to get there, which I just want to normalize that, because if we're in the struggle, we've been fed quick fixes our entire lives. So of course we just want a quick fix. We want to quick fix this. So this is a new paradigm to take it day to day, baby steps. So just today, what can I do to take care of myself? Don't worry about tomorrow. You're not there yet. You're just right here, just this afternoon or this evening or whatever time zone you're in. Okay, not worrying about on and on and on and on. That's when we start to get stuck, and then it becomes this mountain. So just today, that would be my suggestion for self-care. Nadia, let me know how that lands for you. I'd love to follow up with you on that. Kathy says, it's a real shift for me to think about this as self-care, but I like the idea. Okay, yeah. Carrie says, seems counterintuitive. Yep. My extreme obsession seems like it is not self-serving, but damaging. Yeah, so I totally get that. And, we could kind of like go back and forth. Is it self-serving or is it damaging? Let all that go. And just again, come back to, why is it even here in the first place? It's not a coincidence that it's here. It's not just random. It's here for a reason. It's an attempt to these things that we were talking about. It's an attempt to peace. It's an attempt to trajectory, to purpose, to belonging. It's an attempt at these things, all these things that as human beings we're after and that we're hungry for. So keep coming back to that, unless is it damaging or not damaging. Just try to just come back to this piece here. So Carrie, let me know how that lands for you. And I'd love to follow up with you on that. So go ahead and share in the chat box or raise your hand. I see that there's one other hand up here. I'll get to you in just a moment. All right. So Kirsten says, I know what to do to be healthier. I'm not making these activities a priority. Instead of investing my time in planning and preparing on a regular basis, I'll binge, plan, or purchase some miracle system, then apply it, then new habits are hard. Then never apply it, new habits are hard. Yeah, and Nadia says, yes, I have a similar problem with Kirsten. I don't make it a priority when I'm in the moment. My old habits are so automated and so much easier. Exactly. So I often say, I like to attribute, and some of you maybe heard me say this before because this is a metaphor I use a lot, which is we get into these neurological patterns where we do the same patterns over and over and over again. And they just become automatic. And each time we do something new, each time we kind of step into a new pathway, we get to take kind of a scoop of that new pathway and fill it into the old. And so it's just these baby steps where we scoop it up and fill up the old, and we slowly create this new pathway. So yes, it feels like we just get in these automatic patterns because we're wired that way. And so it's going to feel like you're literally picking up a train and moving it to a new train track to create new patterns. So it can feel challenging. It can feel really hard. We get into the old ones again. It's not about all of a sudden having new patterns or behaviors, because again, that's not real change. It's about coming back to the practice of creating new patterns. It's not just saying, oh, I should be there already. The practice is coming back to the practice of new patterns and habits. Okay, so I hope that makes sense. And I hope that that's helpful. Baby steps here. All right. Kirsten says, what I heard from Sonia is to be mindful rather than mindless, and that the awareness of what the reality is behind my behaviors can help in the moment, override that habitual pattern or mode. I like the analogy. Yeah, exactly. So it's being awake in the moment. It's being maybe so frustrated with our patterns. It's kind of like we get sick of our own bullshit. We get sick of our own patterns, and we harness that enough to say, wait a minute, I don't want to keep taking a right turn. I know what happens when I take a right turn. I have enough evidence of what happens when I keep doing this. It's harnessing enough maybe frustration or pain to say that I'm ready for something new. And it's just in this moment, I'm ready for something new, and it's the idea is to push ourselves, not tomorrow or not next week, but, right now I'm ready to try something new. Now that does require mindfulness, Kirsten, exactly. So knowing in the moment, it's a mindfulness practice. Absolutely. Okay, good. How is this going? Any follow-up questions, or I want you to really leave knowing that this is what you're doing to take care of yourself. It's not necessarily a problem. It is here to try to help. Okay. And that's what I want you to leave with. Okay. Andrea says, sometimes it's so uncomfortable, overwhelmed, fear, anxiety, feelings of not enough, and I can't do anything but the old pattern. Right. Because it relieves that anxiety. Right. So maybe that is what you do. Maybe that's just an acknowledgement. It says, I'm doing this because it helps me relieve my anxiety. And we just want to be aware of that. Then the more we're aware of it, not that we're fighting it, right? The more that we're like, okay, I'm doing this because it relieves my anxiety. That's when old patterns transform. They don't transform by us trying to fix them or change them. You've been doing that. The old patterns transform when we say, okay, here I am doing this again. I know why I'm doing this. It kind of makes sense why I'm doing this because it relieves my anxiety. That is a kind approach. That's not a fixing or controlling approach. It's a kind approach. That moves the needle. Kindness always moves the needle. Okay. Yeah. Okay, good. So I have a hand up. Anybody else who wants to share in the chat box or raise their hand, you can push *9, or you can raise your hand if you're on your computer. There's a little blue button that says raise your hand, and that's in when you scroll down to manage participants, excuse me. You push participants and you open that up, and there's a little button at the bottom of all the participants that says raise your hand. You're welcome to raise your hand if you'd like to receive more coaching today. Okay, is this Sonia still? Sonia, did you raise your hand again?
I did not.
Or is that from earlier?
Yes.
Okay, sorry about that. Okay, good. All right, so I am happy to stay on for a few more minutes if anyone would like to talk one-on-one, raising your hand. There's only so much we can do in the chat box, right? It's kind of limiting, but I welcome any more comments in the chat box. And again, you can push *9, or you can scroll down to the bottom of this video and push the participants button. And as you open that up, there's a little blue link at the bottom of all the participants that says raise your hand. And I'd love to hear before we, while people are maybe thinking about that, how are you doing leaving today? What's one word to kind of wrap up how you're leaving today? I'd really love to hear what's coming up for you as you're leaving today. Just one word to describe your mood, your reaction to today. I'd love to hear just one word. What's one word to summarize your experience today, how you're feeling? I think one word for me is, let's see. I think I'm just feeling pretty content. I don't feel particularly overly thrilled. I don't feel, the other way, confused or sad. I'm just feeling particularly content, like we've really hit on some very truthful concepts today. Okay, Kirsten says she feels present. Nadia says, I want to say thank you. I leave feeling inspired. I want to look more into the ways I can slowly and gently integrate the better ways of self-care that I know into my practice. Yeah, you're welcome, Nadia. I'm so glad you could make it today. How about anybody else? Anybody else feeling more overwhelmed or hopeless or happy or thankful, or no right or wrong? I'd love to just hear a word, how you're feeling before we hang up. Okay, so I'll just hang on for one more minute. And I want to just say that I'm really thankful for our time today. I know this has been a very challenging week of the election. And I thought about canceling this gathering. But as I shared in my email, if you read my email yesterday, that I felt like today was a time to come together more than any other time. So I really thank you for joining me. Thank you for just being here to work on yourself. Just being here is an act of self-care. And I want to thank you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being here. Okay, Kirsten says, thanks for your time. Thank you, Kirsten, for being here. Thank you, Carrie, Andrea, Nadia, Natalie, Sonia, anybody else who's on phone numbers that names aren't coming up. Nadia says, the more we work on ourselves, the more we can connect with others and make the difference. Yeah, Andrea says, hope. Andrea or Andrea? Sorry, I'm not sure if it's Andrea or Andrea. Hope. Yeah, wonderful. Okay, big kisses and hugs to you on this Saturday. Take care of yourself And remember that Inner Nutritionist is always a home to feed your wisest self. I would always love to hear more from you. You're always welcome to email me at mackenzie@innernutritionist.com or set up a 20-minute consult at the website at the Work With Me page, and let's just chat and connect. It's one of my favorite things to do. Thank you all. I hope you have a wonderful Saturday. Goodbye.